Hey guys, welcome back. Third Eye Edify, and I'm made me even more excited for part two here because after hearing all the amazing things that our friend here, Meta Soundworks, had to say in part one, um, I'm excited to see what else I'm about to learn because I just learned a ton, and I got to really put some perspectives on some of the other things that I have thought about, some of the other things I've actually put in my own episodes recently, and I can't wait. So let's just get right into this thing, man. You know, if you're here, you're on Patreon or you're on Rockfin. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I hope you're loving the exclusive content that I have, and please do leave a comment and let me know. Let me know how it is. But either way, welcome back for part two, my friend. I think that this outline you put together was amazing, and we're really getting into some of the nitty gritty stuff now. So please, let's continue where we left off with the fake ship and this invisible T that we have to put on all our words. Where you come from, very interesting.
Yeah, I can testify on that. Lately, I'm having my daily Pardesh moment. Literally every day, there is something that I can link to Pardesh that comes along, that passes me on the way.
Wow.
There is always a Pardesh thing that I understand now because of these four ways of interpretation. It's just it's such a key to paradise. I cannot word it otherwise. It's literally a key to paradise, and it feels good, and it allows me to feel happy. It allows me to how to say to see things in a more relative perspective sometimes.
For sure. For sure.
So it's so much fun.
Right.
Also,
It is. It is. Of course. This is. We thankfully we can have fun, even though we're
Yeah.
kind of unlearning and relearning our entire existence at this point.
Yeah.
People in our camp, you know. Um, I made a reference that I wanted to throw in because I think now's the time. It can come up at any point, really. But I had done an episode called "Electric Myth" about Ben Franklin and how he was said to have used a key to, gain the electricity from a kite. And I had made the reference that Jesus gave a key to Peter. And I feel like this is also a key to paradise in some way. And I wonder, since we're going to be mentioning a Bible passage at your request, I have a feeling there's a relationship that maybe we can make somewhere along the way here. So we'll save that though, because
Yeah.
we're kind of continuing where we left off from part one here.
Yeah. So adding this extra T behind the verbs. And this little mnemonic, the fake ship.
Right.
So that's what we were taught, and we have never been told why. But now, using this key of Pardesh, we know where this comes from. Let's pull up the speech banana again. I'll just quickly make it visible again, like this. If you look at the consonants of the mnemonic, the fake ship, do you see something?
Yeah, it seems to go twice over from right to left here.
If you look closely, you will see that they are all on the right side.
Oh, right. If I'm not, I was thinking vowels. I'm sorry. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The th, the f, the sh, k, f, k. Except for one letter, you have covered the entire right side. There's only one letter that we did not cover yet, and that's the G.
Right.
So now you know there is this certain group of people that admire the letter G a lot. This is the most high letter that uses our body.
Mm-hmm.
The letter G is the first letter that not sticks to the skull only. It also has a little throat resonance to it.
Right.
So it's the most high letter. That's why it's adored so much in crossing from the head to the feelings. And the letters from the fake ship, these are the letters that are used when we whisper. So people that keep secrets, what do? They whisper them to each other. And they use the whisper sounds. So what are we taught in school? Add an extra T when using whisper sounds.
Mm.
And this is now all the way relating back to the story of the Knights of Malta, where they used to place a knight in the middle of the crypt or in the middle of the cathedral or the church,
Right.
and they used whisper walls. Let me just make myself big again here.
Sure.
And so they used whisper walls, you know, these convex shaped walls,
Right.
and you whisper in them, and on the other distance, yeah, you can hear them. That's how they faked the word of God for a knight. So the knight had to kneel in the midpoint of the church, and they would whisper, the priest would whisper something, and the knight would receive the word of God. And the thing is, the knight would not recognize it's the priest, because the priest is whispering. He's
Right.
not using his entire body. If the priest would just speak, yeah, we would recognize it's the priest, because we're all unique. We all have a unique sound.
Right.
And this unique sound is created by using our entire body. It's holistic. It's our entire being that is unique, not just the skull. And so to hide yourself, you can whisper. And that's where this T shape comes in handy. I don't know, but maybe that's why cathedrals are still shaped like a T.
Right.
And one cool thing is the longest part of this T in a cathedral. Do you know what it is called?
No.
The ship.
Oh, the ship. Right.
Yeah. The ship of a church is the longest part of the letter T.
Wow.
This also reminds me of this Loki episode where there is a fake ship on the ceiling.
Mm.
But that's a side note.
Side note. Yes. Yes. Very interesting. And I know.
So they,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, they could fake God's whispering. They would fake to the knight the holy quest for his seeking of the Grail, you know, by whispering into his ears, and he had received the word of God. Especially if you are in these churches where they have, you know, the thing they put in the smoke.
Right.
They actually drug you a little bit. Your head is a little fuzzy, and then you hear whispers, and you think, "Oh, God has spoken to me."
Right.
Yeah. So they do this with the whisper sounds, and then they teach an entire country to add an extra T at every whisper sound. So they just show it to you where this comes from.
Clearly, the sign of the cross is there.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, it's an incredible one-to-one relationship, big time. And if anyone has ever been in an amphitheater, this comes back to all the songs I've sung back in the day, as I was saying in part one in music school. If you stand in a very specific spot, just come right back to you. It's incredible. It's not immediate. It's enough where there's an offset, but only these at the right side of the speech bubble. Those are the things that come back.
The high frequencies.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't go It really doesn't happen. The of the might happen. It's a little bit of a guttural thing with sometimes maybe, but NG being the guttural force that it is for God and gold, and Grail. It's really, it really does take up, and you can, especially if you have a bassier voice, you really feel the G. Incredible, you know, and maybe small relationship to pirates going arg. There's like that arg, you know, there's that, the way they spell it, ARGH. It almost seems like an unnecessary spelling to have a G in there, but there's the G. It just has to be there, right?
The most high letter that has connection over the entire body. Yeah.
Right. And as you had mentioned, this direction, a lot of times, and I mean, potentially rightfully so, the heart chakra is green with G, right? And that's one thing that, you know, knowing certain languages can almost give you a little more. Green in Greek is asprino, and that is almost sounds like aspire to be higher, you know? There's no G in it, in other words. So that's interesting.
The breath.
Yeah, right. Inspiration, aspiration. Yeah. So there's some relationships right there. There are, I mean, it proves it right away. Very,
And
very
I
interesting.
haven't looked into it a lot, but I'm also inclining to think that the surround thing
Mm.
is trying to fake the whisper thing again. Adding surround to movies, adding whispers that come straight from the front, that doesn't work. It has to
right.
be sideways.
Yeah.
The
And it's
whispers have to be scary and in the back and in the surround.
right.
You cannot see it, so you cannot know the identity of the one that is whispering. So
Sure.
that's the function of the surround sound.
I think
Faking the cathedral setting.
sure it fakes all settings because you don't hear what your eyes are directly relating to. Your eyes are seeing this and you're hearing this. So clearly there's something there. And if you hear a real organ, the kind that are actually inside the walls of an entire cathedral, then the sound is coming from all over the place. And yet you only see the one guy playing it in the front. It's the same idea, same concept.
That would be something fun to try out, to go stand on the X marks the spot
right.
in the center of a cathedral while an organ is playing. I haven't done
Sure.
that.
Well,
It's on my to-do list now.
yeah, oh, definitely, right? And I bet that X ends up in the ship area of this cathedral, just a hunch, just a guess. And often pirates find their X marks the spot, and it's almost as if they're looking for a resonance rather than an actual treasure chest full of gold. There's the G again. It's more than that. It's definitely more than that. They each have to find their own resonance, as a matter of fact. We all have a different one, and potentially the G can help you discover your own fundamental pitch.
Yes, it's like the hero's journey can also be the quest to find yourself.
Right.
And our fundamental sound is our true identity.
Right.
If we want to recognize each other's voices, we need our fundamental sound. We need the sound of the entire body.
Right.
That's how we recognize each other. I will show this on the sonogram later. The pattern that is recognizable from human to human.
Very interesting. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's another reason that I was always confused. Every once in a while, I would whisper, and then somebody else would go, "I didn't hear you really well." I'm like, "Man, you're not whispering that good." Some people just don't naturally do it, especially little kids. They don't want to even bother trying to whisper, right? But if you really like teach them and direct them, like it's like this, they'll do it. They'll imitate, but they don't understand the idea that you're not using everything. It's hard for someone to naturally not use everything when they talk. So this is that you're fighting your own nature by whispering, actually. You have to be deceiving at that point. And I recall there was voice throwing in a book called Wayland. It's an early American novel. And credited as one of the very first Gothic novels. And there's a guy named Corvin, and he essentially is, you think things are weird, but they're not. When you read it, it's hard to explain the book, but he throws his voice at one point. And voice throwing is the same thing. I think we've all tried it. You kind of like, throw your voice out this way. But you can't do it without whispering. If you don't whisper, you're not hiding anything. Because you can't hide your voice. I mean, you can, of course, if you tried hard. But no matter what, your natural...
This might also be why we can disregard the vowels in all these letter switcheroo things. Those are the low sounds, the true identity sounds.
Right.
The ones that you can relate to each chakra. So the true identity has to remain secret in the priest class thing.
That's perfectly said. It's bringing a lot of things to light. It's great. It's great. And it shows, if you've been to any movie theater in the past 30 years, you saw that, you can see it on the screen right now under our screens there, the Dolby Digital. I don't think there was any other, I think they have a complete monopoly on the industry. Am I right about that? You know better than me, actually. I mean, who else does it? Who else is doing surround sound for movies?
There is not money. Yeah.
Right. And of course, much like having a bass guitar with super low strings, abnormally low, you need a special amplifier for that. You can't just have this in any old theater, right? They have to be set up for surround sound. It has to be done a certain way. Yeah. And even if you have your own living room set up, if you only have 2 speakers, you're not getting surround sound. It's not happening.
But whispers, you'll understand them. You'll have the whisper sounds So that the scary effect is there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the nature of moving away from mono recordings, I guess, was maybe the progenitor of this, potentially. Because with mono, you just, the source has everything in it. And now people are like, I'm panning the guitar far right. The drums are kind of in the center with the cymbals on the outskirts. And yeah.
Yes, in modern music, the mono is a hard threshold at 80 hertz.
Mhm.
Everything under 80 hertz is placed mono, the rest is stereo.
Rest is stereo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's
a
the
topic.
modern directive. Yeah.
That's
If you want to create modern sound.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Everything under 80 hertz goes in the 5.1 goes to the one speaker. A sub speaker. Yeah.
I see.
It's not
that makes
stereo. There is only one bass speaker.
There's always the one bass. Yep. Because that's more than enough. And if you see a modern, professional choir, there's, 5 singers to every one bass, because you should be as loud as that many people, especially because people listening from afar and the bass frequency opens wide as it goes out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times bass guitarists, they're next to their amplifier and they think they're quiet. They turn up and now they're way too loud. They don't realize it. They're not getting the full actual sound wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, bass is loud. Bass is very, very, very loud. Ask any sound man.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay, so I didn't know when the bullet point. So you guys know that he gave is whispering and 5.1 surround sound. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's curious. I wonder where this is going. Now I see.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I agree completely with everything you're laying down, man. This is very cool. This is very cool.
And you can actually visualize it now on the Speech Banana too.
Right.
Yeah. That's what helped me understand this.
Sure. I mean, it has a very specific look to it. It's almost a U, it just doesn't stand tall at the edges. And the Knights of Malta thing is another obvious, the whisper walls.
Yeah.
It makes more sense than ever now. And how many times is, even in the Holy Grail, as we mentioned, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they all kneel when God is speaking from the clouds. It's like, why are you kneeling? Get up. I hate when people grovel. But it's the same process,
Yeah.
They were similarly dressed to any Templar knight you could imagine, and it's the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
And as a potential connection point here, the Knights of Malta, Templars, with that very specific cross that they have, where it splays out at its ends, it's supposed to be a pyramid with its 4 walls opened as you're looking straight down onto it.
Yeah, if we go into that rabbit hole, we can say that you can have the T shape of the church and fold it to a cube.
And you get a cube.
And now you know what the black cube is with the secrets inside.
That's exactly right. And that's why 4 actually adding itself into 10 is considered number of completion, or quite a holy number. And potentially what was skipped in our wonderful little 911 number that we have, skipping 10, skipping perfection, skipping an error perhaps, or doing its best to bring you out of your own natural life cycle and trying to push things on you that you didn't naturally figure out on your own. So all relates. And potentially, since I'm going to mention the Sphinx, I don't know if we said the Sphinx in part 1, we probably saved it. Pyramid Sphinx, yeah. They're sitting here in the thumbnail, and I think that maybe we can start to kind of veer into this now.
Yeah. Okay. The Sphinx story. It relates to the sh sound of Pardesh.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are able to mention the sh sound as the sound of the perfection, the 10, the most high sound that we can speak, this relates to the muse of music, Isa, or to Ish, to be like an Ish person, is something to harmonize to. So if you know how to be honest, etc., you can harmonize with others. Yeah. So you are like Isa, the muse of music. And that's actually what you do in English. To be like Isa is to be Isa-ish. You say ish, and you add it after every word.
Something
to be ish. Yeah. And then the story of the Sphinx. I related this to a book that you recommended to me, to the esoteric journey of the alphabet. There,
Right.
the letters of Sphinx start obviously with the S sound and ends in an X sound, both a part of the sh, so that they can be knit together and then they create the entire frequency of the sh sound. The P in Sphinx, in the old Aramaic or the Persian languages, the letter P was the word that we now translate as this or that or the. So this first thing to simply start pointing at this. So that's that, and then the NK or the NG is from the Ankh. The Ankh symbol, the symbol of joining things together.
Right.
And so the word Sphinx, if analyzed through the Pardesh story, means something like the first time that you connect matter and spirit. The P, the first literal thing, because let's throw in this key also. You have the four Kabbalistic worlds, the material world, the mental world, the emotional world, and the spiritual world. You can also relate them to the four letters PRDS. So taking things very materialistically is the letter P. Very emotionally, very mentally, I need to be correct. Yeah. So left brain,
that makes sense.
Is the R. Right brain emotionally is the D, and then spiritually is the sh sound.
Right.
That's on a very large side weave related to the Yod He Vav He thing,
right?
Where we say Yahweh needs to become Yeshua. We add the S to it. We add the Shin to it. So we become complete. We have completed the entire every stage. And in the riddle of the Sphinx, the Sphinx is the one that guards the gate to paradise. He asks the question, and you have to give the password. And in many stories, and that's the Bible quote you were mentioning, the correct answer is Shibboleth. Mm-hmm. And the wrong answer is Sibboleth, without the sh, but with the s at the start. And this Shibboleth is an anagram of Pardesh, with all the letters interchanged. But you prove that you know the difference between s and sh.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it was. Was it Judges 12?
Yes, you said Judges 12, 5 and 6.
Yeah. So the story of the Sphinx is where people are ready to cross the river, ready to go to the land of the spiritual blessedness. And if you relate it to the four worlds or to the four planes of existence, analyzed also through the four elements, it is also the sound that comes from fire plunging into water. Mm. So the sound of the spirit. That's what the sh sound is about.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the beginning of the process of linking the spirit and the matter, that is the Sphinx riddle of creation. That's when one is ready to start walking the path of the good fellows. Let's call them.
Right.
The ones with Christ consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, man. And there's another Sphinx riddle that I want to mention too that I know of. So maybe we'll get to that in a second. But I also wanted to throw in something that I actually mentioned in my new book, World War U, which I think World War U is a fitting title for how much there is against us in this regard, language wise, written language versus spoken, private versus public. So many things are just doing their best to make sure we don't grow as we naturally should. It's a large, overbearing topic in the entire book. Bob Marley, who we all know, of course, how many rivers must we cross before we get to talk to the boss? I think that's something of a potential relationship. I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but I just wanted to throw it out there since it's from a product of my writing here. But it's very interesting that there's this idea of, class and peasants. Like if you say Sibboleth, you obviously you weren't learned, you know nothing. You don't say shibboleth,
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to bring up several things, so that made me think of a few things. But first of all, the idea of Sabbath came to mind with this word. Sabbath, Shabbat, Shabbos. There's different ways to say that, but it means the seventh day, the day of rest. And in this passage, Judges 12, 5 and 6, there's 42,000 people were killed because of this mistake in the way that they said the word. And it's a multiple of 7. So I wasn't sure if that could be a thing. It might not be. I thought it was a very curious number.
Mm-hmm.
Must mean something, right? But maybe that has to do with the 7th
in the
day.
Kabbalistic sense, I look at the 7 as the 7 parts at the bottom of the tree of life.
Right.
So the 7 most low Sephirot,
Right.
and then there's the 3 on top.
Right.
And the Shin goes exactly at that layer, at the crossing.
Yeah, and the top middle.
The middle line that crosses from
Yep.
the triangle at the top to the
Right.
rest, that's the Shin. That's literally the crossing of the river.
Oh,
And that's a 7 versus a 3 to complete the 10.
right.
I always think of the 7 in that direction.
Very interesting.
Like they are trying to keep us down to a 7.
Right. Never evolve. This is a big
Yeah.
part of the
Don't grow into a 10. Don't grow to completion.
right. You think you've made it, and you're just getting started. Now you know enough to move on to the
Yeah.
big stuff. Yeah.
Let's
And-
give you a fake secret.
Right. And if you numerically relate, as we did last time, part 1, to the tarot, the major arcana, you get the judgment card, that Shin. So I think it's a big part of it. Are you moving on? Does the judgment work in your favor? Or are you being judged at the foot of the Sphinx, right? So I think that all relates actually in an interesting way. And, any one of these comments can go for hours. If people, again, keeping score at home, you can see that there are relationships to be made, and we're not pulling them out of thin air. We're referencing all the things that connect. It all connects. And
Something that pops up now is the Egyptian name for personality is the Ba. In the Kabbalah, our personality, our character is Ba.
right.
And there is this Vedic god called the Shiva, the Sh.
Right.
So the people with the Sh personality. And if you go look into the mysteries, Shiva or Shiva
Right.
is the god of the one that I think he is the destroyer of all confusion. So it's literally the journey from the D to the Sh, confused by the dualistic nature
Right.
of the D
Double speak.
to
Oh, is that the double speak? Let me see. Did I say that?
no, the double
No.
speak was the second
That's
one.
the R.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. So I put the
the
D as double speak.
jurisdictional thinking, the ones that are still confused by eating from the apple of good and false. Yeah.
That's so
So
interesting.
Shiva kills all doubt.
It's a direct relationship. It has to be. And even the Ankh itself has this dualistic nature where you could see it as an IO, which I got from this book, The Esoteric Structure of the Alphabet. It's a little one. If you guys aren't familiar, I would absolutely jump into this book for sure.
Yeah.
It's a nice little nugget. And I also made a short episode called the Hidden Language Secrets, which related this book into a few other things. And I also made an episode number 6, Spelling Bee, which discussed things from this alphabet. And you mentioned fire into water. And I do recall the U of the language going from A down to M, splashing in, and then N up to Z, coming back up. And I had made another relationship there that wasn't in this book that I thought was pertinent, is that if you say A goes down to M, M kind of looks like two A's, the capital M. So there's a relationship in the look of the letter. And then if you go to the other side, N is kind of like a sideways Z, or vice versa. They have this instant relationship. And the M and the N are right next to each other at the bottom. If you take the very first letter, you get man, right? Which potentially is the answer to a question that the Sphinx asked someone. Maybe I'm not sure what it's from. But he said, 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, 3 legs at night. What is it? And it's man, crawling as a baby, walking for the rest in the middle, and then you have a cane as your third leg when you're older. So maybe there's a direct or not direct relationship to that, because it was on my mind and I wanted to see where that came from. I found that out. I played a game on Game Boy. It was probably like 89 or something. And the Sphinx
I would call that a fake secret.
A fake secret.
A fake story of the actual Sphinx story, because the sh is not there.
3 out of, yep, I see. Yeah, so it's like Shin, where there's 3 missing the 4th.
That is the 4th missing pillar. Yeah.
Do you have, I'm just throwing it out there curious because of the nature of your specific location in the world, right? And bringing to light what you taught us in part 1, I'm sorry, in your first interview here in episode 41, that you have 13 governments. How many governments do you have? Is
7.
You have 7 governments, right? So you have some for different languages. Is this a Belgian problem too, where you have language problems and you just know what they mean, but they don't say it like you do? Does this come up a lot, or you pretty much have a common language that you're all speaking pretty easily?
No, there is even dialects. Yeah.
Dialects on months.
Certain regions have dialects, and we don't all speak the same kind of Dutch.
But no matter what, you can all speak to each other. Like let's say Spain and Brazil, like they can talk to each other. They don't sound exactly the same, but
yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay.
But we cannot speak to the French part.
Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's a tough one. I know.
So we are schooled to do this. The general rule is we need to understand the French, but we don't need to speak it.
You don't have to speak.
And they need to understand the Flemish, but they don't need to speak it.
Right.
So we could understand each other, but we don't all do this.
No, I can see that. It's even the subtle, like Swedish and German, like clearly there's a large similarity, but there's obviously, it's very obvious also. Yeah. And that's coming from, that's coming from me not knowing a ton. I'm no expert on any of that stuff. But what did you want to add anything to this? Because I don't necessarily have more at this moment to add. Because we could, again, any sentence that we've said can just go. But I think we're making connections is more important right now. And I really love where this is going.
Speaking of the 4th missing pillar, one thing that I can add is when the priest class speaks about virtues and sins.
Right.
The 7, the 7 virtues. A very cool thing to do is to place them next to the Pardesh word. And you'll see that the esh is missing. And the part of speaking truth, it's not in there. The virtue, the most high virtue of speaking truth, being honorful, it's not in the 7 virtues. But all the rest is there, and you can relate them through the letter switcheroo to the Pardesh word. Pride, for example, PRD.
Oh, pride, yeah.
Yeah.
And part, the word part, clearly.
Yeah.
And priest, of course.
And then as for the virtues, prudentia.
Right.
Prudence.
Prudence, right. Prudential prudence.
PRD, not sh. Or in Latin, prudentia, with a T.
Well, and that's another word where in our language, in my language, where you can say prudential with a TIAL at the end. But that sounds like prudential. It doesn't really sound, you don't hear a, T. You actually hear sh.
We have a tendency to speak it like Pardesh. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it all really fits. I mean, it fits really, really well. It fits shockingly well where you
You are
can't
going
deny it.
to have your Pardesh moment.
I'm done. No, it's
From now on.
I can't talk anymore. No more talking. No more writing. Nothing. So, and also all these three-letter agencies that we have in the West here. There's got to be something there, right? CIA and so on, DOA. It's always it's usually three, and a lot of times they'll skip one of the words that is not as important just to make sure it stays as a three-letter acronym. So there's got to be something to that, and this also brings up a very important, because you're mentioning pillars. And when you study the typical ones, you get the three that I relate to music in a number of different ways. The Ionic, the Doric, and the Corinthian pillars, the very typical modern, not modern, the very typical architectural pillars that you get. There are other ones, but we often just see these three and we don't get a fourth one in our classical learning, right? And speaking of classical, I'm sure the trivium fits into this conversation in a very large way. And I don't think we've got time to even bother with that today. It's a big deal.
You might relate the quadrivium to it.
The quadrivium.
4 letters. And the fourth missing one is the astrology.
The astrology, right?
Nobody
Part that
knows
people
it
seem to
anymore.
miss. Right. It's coming back now with groups like this.
Or astrology might also be a fake one.
Right.
Yeah. A fake secret. Because there are no signs in the sky. Only these tiny dots.
You just got dots.
There are no lines connecting them. Yeah.
Right. And let's think about how often we are shown to connect the dots a certain way when we're young. You get a lot of connect the dots. Oh, it's a cat. How nice. And it's very common. So that's sky talk. And, see people like Slick Dissident, for example, they can relate anything to the sky immediately. It's incredible. But we are going based on the 88 or the 80 constellations that we know. This also relates to another set of three pillars very prominently placed in things like the tarot and other Masonic things, where we have Joachim and Boaz, and then there's an Ionic pillar in the center, of course. There's three. Where's the fourth, right? So very common stuff, very commonly seen in the art and the architecture that we're speaking about. And again, it proves very clearly, I think, that we're onto something here. This is not just conjecture or conspiracy theory, Anyone watching this is part 2. You're not thinking that, I know. But hopefully you didn't think of any of this stuff yet, because this is a lot of this is actually new for me. And hopefully we can bring up another curious little nugget here.
You are actually asking them to not judge.
No, don't judge. No partish. But yes, pardon me, right? So do you wanna show us something? You think it's time?
The sonogram, yeah, why not? Yeah, let's bring up the sonogram.
Another first on the show here, and potentially for a lot of you.
Yeah, let's see what we can do here. So this is the speech banana. I need to do this, and then let's go like this. Okay, is this working? Can you see it?
Yes, your box is in the bottom left corner now. I don't know if that's...
Yeah. Should I remove it?
Yeah, because there's going to be something there, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
No tricks here. This is the person talking into this program.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I make this full screen? Let me see. Let me see if I can actually... No, maybe not. Okay.
Okay, so what you see here is a sonogram, and I will soon start to record my voice, and then you see it moving. So, okay, as I'm speaking, you see this movement on the screen. What it depicts is my voice made visual. So this is something for the visually oriented people. I'll just pause it for a minute so I can explain. Down in the bottom here, you see 9 octaves, the entire audible spectrum.
Right.
And from the left here, I don't know if it's big enough, but this says 20 and goes all the way up to 20,000.
Right.
So this is the frequency spectrum. Yeah. And what you see here is all the sound that my voice makes. Every frequency that is present is colored in. And the more dense that the color is, the more bright that the color is, the louder it sounds. So the loudness is coded in the density and in the brightness of the image. Yeah. So I'll just keep this running. I'm now speaking to you, and you can see the sounds that I create drawn on a frequency range or on a musical scale on a keyboard down here. And as time goes by, you see my voice scrolling up. And like this, I can visualize the things I say to you now. And yeah, let's have fun with this. Let's prove some things we said earlier.
Right.
Yeah. So let's start with the division line on the speech banana at 1000 hertz. That's here.
Okay.
So the vowel sounds are all on the left of my mouse pointer, and most consonants and high sounds are all on the right side. So if I start to whisper, you will see that there is no sound on the left side, or hardly any sound on the left side. Only when I add some body to it, you can see the difference between whispering and using the entire body to create sound. Then the next thing to show is when I use a vowel. I'll just record one. And pause this thing. Okay. So here is the letter A.
Right.
You can see the entire overtone series in this. So let's take the middle part of the lowest part of the sound. This was about an A sharp here. Yeah. If we go an octave higher, we are at another A sharp. If we go an octave higher, another A sharp. So this is the entire overtone series, if you're familiar with them. The first octave, the fifth, another octave, the third, sixth, fifth octave, and so on. Made visually. And this is how we recognize one another. We all have these patterns here, and they are unique to our body, unique to the chambers that we use to resonate our sound with. We have a unique stomach area, we have a unique lung pipe, we have unique lungs, unique throat, unique mouth cavities, unique skulls. So each part can be made visual, and I'll show this to you with the letter A. So let's just record this. Okay, we don't have room for any more. But what I did here was relaxing my entire body, or at least as relaxed as I can be right now.
Right.
And pronouncing the letter A at this fundamental pitch. These are the overtones. And what I did next was tense my stomach. I really drew in my belly and I tensed it, and then I pronounced the A. And if you compare this to the relaxed one, then you see here and here, and especially here, are frequencies missing. My belly did not resonate the same way it did in the relaxed state. The next thing I did was arching my shoulders to the back. So really tensing the front of my torso. Yeah. What happens? You see here, many more high frequencies here. So I open up my lungs. There is much more resonating capacity for the sound to resonate. Much more overtones are emphasized and sounding very much louder here. And also here. The pattern remains the same, but the loudness here, there is just more frequency present when my lungs are resonating. Third thing I did was placing my hand around my throat and grasping my throat and making it very tight, and see what happens. Here are extra frequencies in the high spectrum, because it's not a question of resonating, it's question of friction. And friction is what happens when you close the lung pipe, the turbulence of the sound. And so this is how we recognize one another. This is how we use all our different chakra centers, all our different energy centers to create our own truly unique sound. Yeah, any questions so far?
Oh, the viewers at home may have some. They can leave comments anytime, and they can also find us in the Telegram chat because you are there. But I want to emphasize the importance of just the simple idea of Om. You can change what Om is for you. And if this is a little bit, still not 100%, I have certainly discussed overtones and their importance and how I think they're being manipulated in modern music and stuff. But more importantly, if you ever wondered, how come a clarinet and an English horn, which are very similar overall, or let's just say a clarinet and a flute, right? How come they're in the same family, but they sound so different, even if you play the same note in the same octave? It's going to look like this. The top ones, let's say, is the clarinet. The bottom one's the flute. They emphasize different partials of the overtone series. It's the same overtone series, but because of the nature of the instrument, its construction, its usage, the way you blow, it changes little things. And that's why you can see it. You can actually see it here. Example 1 at the top sounded different than example 4, even though it was the same note in the same octave, which can be shown at the furthest from the left. The big top to bottom line, the big vertical line at the front, that's the fundamental actual note that he sang. And then from there, the overtone series changes. Manipulating the overtone series changes the timbre, changes the way it sounds, not the note.
Yeah.
So you can see it.
I'll sing some octaves for you now.
Cool. Yeah. Let's try.
See how it is. Yeah. Okay.
This is the part where everyone is supposed to clap now, please. Everyone claps. Very well done. Precise, man.
So that's the thing about sound. Our hearing is actually much more accurate than our visual sense.
Right.
Our visual sense entails only one octave.
Yes.
We have the 7 colors, and that's it, like
Right.
the 7 notes. But in music, we have a range of 10 octaves. Here they are arranged from 1 to 9, but there is some space here and some space here, which creates the 10th octave.
Right.
Yeah. And so we can be much more precise just by listening to our own voice. We can be extremely accurate. Do not ask a painter to paint in the same yellow,
Right.
but we can sing the same note in the blink of an eye.
That's right.
Oh.
Right.
And here you see that you have heard it, and you can now see that it's accurately on the same octave. It's like a doubling of frequency.
Right. Can you point at the A sharp / B flat so they can see that every octave is the same? If you look at the bottom of the screen, there's the 2 and the 3 black keys representing a piano. There's the third black key. Next time is the third black key, and next time again is the third black key. In other words, he sang the octave appropriately, which is why I asked for applause. And now, clearly,
Everyone can do this. It
Everyone
comes
can do this.
naturally.
that's right. No one's truly tone deaf, in my opinion.
Even if a man and a woman are singing together,
Right.
naturally a male voice has its fundamental here, and a female voice starts here or here.
Right.
And we sing naturally together. We sing in octaves. We blend together. We know this. We can be very accurate with sound.
That's correct. And sometimes octaves are actually the hardest to sing. It's funny how it works, singing unison with an entire chorus. Usually not every single person is exactly in the same note. And that's why we call the chorus effect that you can get as an effect pedal for like a guitar, let's say.
Yeah.
That's what it's mimicking.
You can also see this here.
Right.
This is the fundamental, but it's
Right.
not one frequency.
No, right.
It's a frequency range. It starts at, let's say here, 82 to 140.
Right.
Only the mid part, which is bright yellow, it's the loudest part.
Right.
All these sounds are here as well.
That's right. Right.
A little less loud.
Right.
So as a tone, as a pitch, we only hear the loudest one.
Right. And now
There's more to it.
right. Yeah, well, definitely. You know, and can you do go back to the initial octave, do ah, and then do e, like different vowel?
Yeah,
See
that was the next.
That was the next one. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I figured you're on that path. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna now exemplify that there'll be different overtones and different partials emphasized.
Yeah, especially in the vowels. Yeah.
Right.
A, E, I, O, U, Ö, Ä, U, O.
Beautiful.
There we go.
There it is, clear as day. Same exact note, different vowel. Look at how differently our ears take it in, technically speaking. We're
Yeah.
hearing a different set of overtones emphasized.
Yeah.
And again, this is how even like, let's just say a person playing with strings can make that string sound different. Yeah, their hands do it, but this is what's happening live in your ears or on paper.
Yeah.
It's great to see. And I hope that people that were unsure or maybe on the fence about where they understood this stuff get a better idea of what's happening here. Because I think it's really clear now that, yeah, it's the same thing, but it's different. And everyone's voice does this. You know, I say the same thing you say and it sounds different. And it's not because we're from different countries. It's just that we have different bodies. Everything comes out different. And
this happens in all octaves. If I would sing this an octave higher, it would be the same thing, the same pattern, but more dense, more close together on this image because this is a logarithmic scale.
right, it's logarithmic, exactly.
Yeah. And this is also, as a side note, why a male voice often sounds more pleasurable than a female voice. This is because it is much more easy to detect these. There's much more space in between them.
Right.
And to go find out the overtones here or here.
Right.
So it's more easy to listen to a male voice because the fundamental tone is lower, and so there is more space in between. So it's more easily detectable.
Right.
So it makes sense
Very
that we love listening to a deep bass voice.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think also, you know, in the very like esoteric / whatever studies you want to mention, where the common agreement is that men is stability, male is stability, feminine is chaos. You can see that things get more chaotic as you travel towards the higher octaves. It's just, it visually looks more chaotic. Whereas the very first thing on the left clearly seems more stable.
Yeah.
And that's the point of pitch in general. There's stability, and then there's the dissonance that exists within itself. And dissonance is a big part of what music does. So the idea that you can hide your identity by manipulating the overtone series through whispering, through other things of that nature, is that actually what you plan on doing next? Maybe give me like a full body and then like just whisper, or maybe just do like a few T's and F's.
Yes, I was going to do the S and the sh sound.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yep, perfect.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's just look at the speech banana and make sure I don't miss any.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So you have the first one, the G, depending on how much vowel I add. J, J. K, S, F, T, H, Sh.
And there it is, plain as day. The guttural
And
G
here
is on the
is
left.
The shibboleth, the shin
Mhm.
sound is the most complete one. It has
Right.
no secrets in the upper range here. And then the S sound and the K sound, here they are.
Right. I mean, what a stark, dramatic difference. And your identity is gone. There is nothing. There's no yellow on the left perceivably at all.
No, there is no fundament. There is nothing of the body. It's only the headspace that is resonating.
I think that might be another
But
reason
with the
people
sh,
lose.
it's the entire headspace.
Yeah, it's full,
Yeah.
all the way to the right. It seems like it's getting cut off. I wonder now. The other idea here is that when you, the idea of shh as a training tool almost, it really
Yeah.
it catches people with like, oh, did I do something wrong? Like a hey, But more importantly, maybe it doesn't sound so human to an untrained or younger ear. Maybe shh sounds like, wait, what was that? Who was that? Is that a person? So maybe there's another reason for this being the tool that it is when you're, especially when you have kids or just a teacher, shh, and they always do this, almost like representing a pillar, shh,
Mhm.
So that's interesting too.
I would maybe add the transition from being in the womb to being birthed as maybe seen as raising an octave.
Yes.
So adding this extra octave here, which you do not hear when you are in the womb.
Sure. I agree with that.
Now that you mention it, not being used as a child to these sounds, they are new. This is the new octave from 1000 to 10,000.
Right. Like, oh, that was there too all along. Wow.
You can test this when you're in a bathtub and you go underwater with your head.
Mhm.
You don't hear these sounds anymore.
Right.
You hear the low ones.
Yeah, exactly. You can picture your own experience or any scene in a movie. You get like a from the people outside the pool or whatever you dip your head in. Yep.
Yeah.
Good point. And of course, comes back to the idea of holistic, where when you were singing A, you had yellow from left to right. And now we are missing something every time with every single one of these. We're missing a lot, actually, from the frequency spectrum. And to remind that visually we don't see nearly as much at all. And the funny the typical inversion, of course, in life is that we are so clearly convinced that any color is possible. And yet we only think of notes as the ones we're told exist on the piano. And that spectrum is much larger to begin with. Very interesting.
So let's just once more place the S next to the sh.
Yes, let's just do those specifically. I like that to remind that we're doing the Sphinx. We're discussing the Sphinx stories.
Shh. So here's the S. Here is the complete shh.
Right. Even that the dramatically more amounts of blue to the left as well. Can you do one? Can you do quick ones like shh?
Shh.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
It's about the same, but yeah.
And I was thinking of that because when, like I mentioned, the amphitheater echo, when you're in the X marks the spot thing, which is not always dead center, little things come back more obviously. If you just go with sustained shh, it's not so obvious. When you go shh, and it comes back, shh, it's very clear what happened. It's very interesting.
Yeah, the short transient sounds. Yeah.
Right, and your ear collects them. Also, you have, if you turn your head, it doesn't happen. You have to really be standing exactly in one spot.
Yeah, to catch all the sound.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're standing in a room with speakers and you turn your head, it's going to sound different. That's the nature of the beast. So you can also find different overtones that way too.
And speaking of inverted things, this is what they call noise.
Right.
Because every spectrum, every frequency is in there.
Yeah, it's just one big.
We have this word white noise.
Right.
White noise would be the entire spectrum filled up.
Right. Just a big old.
We have the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the word pink noise, which is the noise of only the vocal spectrum filled up.
Right. I'm glad you clarified. I think a lot of people have heard of pink noise and weren't sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So they call it noise, as if you don't want this.
Right.
We all want paradise, don't we?
Don't we? And we don't want to have to really get ourselves in there and really listen for whispering. We want to just hear the whole thing too. But yes, this whole paradise, the keys to paradise literally exist within all of the confines of what you've brought to light here.
It is within ourselves. We all have this. We all have this tool to create the similar sounds that we do.
Right, this is creation. You choose to do it. You choose to speak the words, and it goes so deeply in our own existence, this entire concept. And of course, as we discussed in part 1, where it's even a story of growth, of your own natural growth as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And it's often suppressed by things like scholastic institutions and priesthoods and churches, very unfortunately. Very often do their best to take you away from it. And if they're not going to do it, the books they suggest that you read will.
Yes, even in the word shin and sin.
Right.
This
Very
is
different.
exactly this difference.
Yeah. Very good. And I always thought it was interesting that the shin is a part of the body. Never thought that was sensible. It always sounded kind of out of place.
The shin is placed in the at the edge. It is in between the lowest 7 and the highest 3 Sephiroth. So it's actually the edge. It's the crossing of the river.
And there's the
It's the
crossing of
sound of the fire in the water.
Shh. Yep. Yeah. Put a match out in water and
it vapors.
and it vapors.
It becomes spirit.
Yeah, the soul escapes. Right, the spirit.
Yeah.
Right. So, inspiration, expiration, we get actual just spiration. We get the spirit. Yeah. And there's that sh as a T again in inspiration, the way we spell it.
Yeah.
What is the word for you in your language?
For inspiration. Inademen or inspiratie.
It almost sounds Latinish in its own way.
Inspiratie, and to breathe in is inademen.
Ah, and there's Adam. Wow. Very interesting.
Adem is breath.
Really?
Yeah, in Dutch.
Wow. It's funny, all these other languages currently being studied in our meta group, and I think yours is being left out of it, and that sounds like there's lots of secrets to be found.
Okay, I'm going to close the sonogram, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
How inspiring indeed to see these things. You've brought a lot of gifts with you today. This has been seemingly a long time coming. Really.
Yeah, I thought this up, especially for those that are still very visually minded.
Right.
Those that really see images in their head and are visually oriented. They would not understand this material by simply listening to it.
Sure. And you don't get a visual when you listen. You might think of a color or whatever, but you don't see that.
Yeah.
And this is a very new direct relationship to make. It's nothing new to like record sound visually, but to have people like us there to guide you and discuss Overtone series in general, it's a whole different world. It's a very unique aspect to all of this. And I think it shows how it shows how obviously important this is for us to understand the things we were talking about, because even that has a secret, that we just showed you a secret, I think, at the end of the day. So very interesting all around. I mean, this is magnitudes of information, really. And it's all coming from the very tiniest little drop of knowledge of simple truth. And then it just pours out. The ocean pours. It's not a river anymore. That's an ocean now, a whole ocean to cross.
Yeah. To me, this is my way of getting people to train their ears to hear again.
Yeah.
Not only having eyes to see, but also having ears to hear. Really paying attention to your own voice, paying attention to what you speak, paying attention to the words. It's all a part of being truthful and being honorful. It's speaking truth. It's minding what you say. It's really
Minding.
keeping the connection going
Right.
and being, centered and listening to your inner voice.
Right, right, which is crucial and also completely lacking in a lot of ways culturally for most of us. And I mentioned in my new book too, with the Emperor's New Clothing. I was trying to use that to exemplify when the kid says he's not wearing anything, guys, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's beautiful." He simply made what was really obvious again. And this is we're unlearning, we're backtracking, we're starting over almost. But we also have all this knowledge. Everyone's like, I wish I knew this when I was, 2. Aren't you just glad that you know all this now that you can start to study? Let's just be thankful for that. I mean, we're not like young, but we're definitely not old yet, right? No, not old yet. So
We'll reach 150 easily.
you know it's doable. All we have to do is stop eating and just breathe all day, right?
Yeah.
I think we can learn a lot from each other still. No one has time for everything. It's impossible.
What you just told me reminds me of in many mysteries, it is called the King's Chamber.
Mhm.
If you take this very materialistically, very literally, it is the skull. The sounds that are created through the skull.
Right.
Kings were taught to whisper. Kings were taught to the King's Chamber, where only the king can hear it. It is our inner voice, only the skull, and they fake it through whispering, but the real inner voice is inside.
I think I don't even like to even bother thinking about it anymore, but with sports, it's similar. You'll notice it the most with maybe football, where when they're talking about the next play they're going to do, they do this so no one can be reading any lips and no one can like catch it because the quarterback does have a little headpiece to hear, and very similar idea. Don't let anyone else hear. For war purposes or whatever strategic purposes you might want to say, it could just be a local thing too. But yes, in the King's Chamber,
it's hiding the consonants, also hiding the
right.
high sounds.
Yeah, that's what you're reading if you read lips, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you're reading a. I mean, you could, but I don't think it's as important as what's dividing the vowels. And because that's the rhythm. There's a rhythm to the language that's very obvious, and you can see it.
Yeah.
If you speak
the vowels are this little triangle between A, O, and E.
Right.
E is very wide, O is round, and A is just open. And all the others are variations in between.
Right. Yeah. They all borrow from. It's a combination.
So there is not much visually going on. There is always a certain direction in one of the 3 points, but you cannot really derive any. You cannot read lips. In vowels.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's no way. Yeah, it was just awa, yawa. That seems impossible to gauge. What was that? I don't know what I don't know what it was. But musical triads. Maybe we can kind of end with this topic. Is that musical triads are 3s, but a lot of times you will hear the octave as well as a 4th almost, where the triad itself may feel incomplete. And I'd sing, but I'm holding this something right here. Let's just say you play a triad. Doesn't matter if it's major or minor. Who cares? Right? There's a triad.
Mm-hmm.
It feels, maybe it's incomplete. Usually we go back to what started it. There's 3 notes there. The 4th one, it really does sound more complete. Perhaps that's, again, the secret is the octave. So maybe that's another thing that's, a similar concept.
Oh, this reminds me of another thing I could show you on the sonogram.
Sure. Yeah, well, just use this thing as much as we can. I love the idea.
Yeah. Because I have a piano here. Hold on.
Nice.
I start recording. I'll play just one note, and then I'll sing one also. The difference between a digital piano and a human voice on the same pitch.
Right. It's dramatic. And also, this is what people talk about when they speak of the sterility of digital sound. Like there is almost nothing in between each overtone.
Yeah.
Almost nothing between these partials. Nothing. Just little, they look like little, stalagmites or whatever. And stalactites. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think I inverted that.
It's just pure mathematics.
It's just math.
You double it,
Yep.
there it is.
Yep.
You double it, there it is again.
So there's
And
no
so-
color whatsoever. Nothing. It's empty. It's a robot. It doesn't have a soul. This is what will be missing if we let, the generations continue this trend. If you played a natural acoustic piano, it would look a lot more like the human voice here.
Yep. It
There's
would
so
have
many
the other
different-
snares also vibrating.
Yeah, right. Unavoidable.
But this is a sample recorded from an acoustic piano.
Exactly. So it actually is mathematically whittled down, almost shaved down to its bare essentials. But it is, it's just math. Play this, it's a think of a computer program. If E, then or what did you play? E? Yeah, you played an E, right?
Yeah.
If E, then B. If E, then G sharp. It's just nothing. It's just nothing. It's so
Nothing
unimpressive.
natural about it. Yeah.
And it didn't sound that bad actually. I mean, it really sounded pretty decent. But there's always something missing. Like, what's missing? This is what's missing. We're seeing it. It's alive here. Your voice is alive, and it's not perfect. It's not, and it shouldn't be. I don't want that.
Yeah. The clue now is to train your ears that you can actually start hearing this.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that way people can't hide in whispers.
Yeah.
And you can reveal identities very easily. This is going to be a big part of, especially in this particular year, spoiler for the next episode, that I'm going to be doing something about, news dying suddenly in an election year, which seems impossible. This concept that there's going to be all these AI deepfakes, which are not new at all. You're not even going to know if it's that person talking. And you need to be able to detect these things. This is about deception detection.
Yes, they are doing this with voices also.
Right.
I've heard this Michael Jackson song. It sounded just like him. They mimic his voice.
Uh-huh.
They plant it on an AI generated tool.
Right.
They can just
Here he is.
steer the
Michael
patterns and create. But if you are able to make the distinction between the digitally created version and the real voice, you can still hear it.
Right.
But you have to train your ears.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a factor of time and training, but it's worthy for us to all be suspicious at the very least, whether you detect it perfectly or not. Just be suspicious. Whatever the camera is showing you is all they want you to see. You don't know if they're speaking to a crowd or they're in a certain location. You just don't know. The green screen technology is through the roof.
Mhm.
It's amazing. People seem like they're somewhere and they're definitely not, and it doesn't look like it used to. So it's better than ever. Just be hyper aware. Bring light to your life. Much like the title of the episode here, bring light to language. Bring light to your life. And by doing that, you're bringing truth. And the first step is to be honest with yourself at all times. And avoid the notion of a secret. Unless, of course, like I said, you're hiding a birthday gift, as I said in part 1. This is different. But, don't even give the notion that exists, and then you won't have to keep any secrets. You just pop it on the day. It's not like somebody isn't expecting something on their birthday, right? It's not like an actual secret. So don't hide things. Try to, embody the spirit of truth in your life. It's actually not that hard to do, of course. But,
No hiding, no judging, no double speak, and no wanting things only your way.
Right. The part that matters is the PRD. The S should be the natural state, but it's not. We're trained away from nature. And you have brought to light so many things that unfortunately prove it, but it's also showing that we're dealing with defunct systems that are kind of on their way out, where that Malta Knight is not going to be fooled as easily now, if we were to call ourselves one of those. So hopefully the whisper chambers of the world are either just being destroyed or just not being used, or they're not working anymore. We can only hope for that.
Yeah, or
That's-
at least they serve the purpose that someone will grow from it and reach his or her despair moment and grow from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And growth is a major factor here at Third Eye Edify. I look to grow. I grow with every episode I make because I'm always learning something. And I'm not surprised, but I find little surprises in all the research that I do. And here is a perfect example of me just having a nugget placed in my hands by you. I'm so grateful that this happened. Your outline was very inspiring, and I figured I'm not even touching this. We're going here, man. This is amazing. I hope that the audience really got a lot out of this and that it strikes
too.
up more conversations. So if you're again watching this one, you're already a patron or you're on Rockfin, thank you. If you're not on the Telegram, which I actually see that some of you aren't, please get on the Telegram. Don't be shy. We have fun. We talk about the episodes. We talk about a lot of other things too. You can have a conversation with Meta Soundworks right on the Telegram chat. So please find me there as well. It helps me know that things are going right here, and keeps me inspired because I'm going to be doing a lot more episodes per month, during this new year 2024, and it all starts with you. I really appreciate everything, guys. And Meta Soundworks, do you have any closing comments or anything like that? No rush.
No, let's just end with the sound of silence. The sound of silence is the shh.
Perfect. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you so much. And we'll see you real soon.